All right, all right, all right. We are back. We are back with the GM Ashley stream. And this one, folks, this is something special. This is something that you're going to feel like after the appetizer, excuse me, you got the entree, you got the I'm butchering it all. The appetizer, the entree, the full course meal. You've been hanging out for a couple of hours, hanging with your friends, having a good time, eating, rapping, and then they say, do you want dessert? This is the dessert. This you pick your favorite dessert. This is going to be a combination that you will think of as one of the greatest, just finger licking, lip smacking, tongue mouth watering combinations you've ever seen. And it did not happen in the game. It didn't even happen in the analysis, which was shocking for me. I went to go do some research, and the moves that were suggested, they did find the move itself, but they sequenced it a different way and found a win. But I found a mate. Then when I looked it up, I went everywhere. Then I looked it up, and I found someone had looked at the engine and found the mate and posted it online in November of last year. That's the best I found. Now, maybe it's somewhere in the notes of this game, but this game is extraordinary. Extraordinary. Actually, the game itself is bad because of how many misses White had, but the combination is extraordinary. Let's get to this combination. So let me set this up. We're here. Okay, we're here now about to go over the greatest checkmate, in my opinion, that was never played. Simply amazing. It's a game between former world champion not once, but twice, not twice, but three times, Mikhail Botvinnik, one of the greatest chess players ever from Russia, at the time the Soviet Union, and Bent Larsen, the Great Dane from Denmark, who in 1967 was beating everybody, was just rocking it as one of the best players, along with Bobby Fischer, who was not born in the Soviet Union. All right, he was a monster. And we're going to go over this game. And when I say this it was a monster, I'm going to get to a great quote by the Dane, by Botvinnik, that you're going to love. But let's go over the game first. This was played in Palma de Mallorca. So we're just going to go over the opening, basic English opening, no big deal. Botvinnik used to like to avoid anything too special, depending on who he was playing against. And so he's just playing very nonchalant right now. All right, pieces are developing. Rook c7. That move's a little tricky dicky. The point, you're going to see why in a second. Rook to d7, putting the rook on the open line. On the potentially open line. And now bringing the other rook. So both sides playing very solid chess. Takes, 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 takes. And now d4. And Black has every reason to feel like it should be just about equal, right? White hasn't done anything that special this game. And this d4 break, Black's like, why should I be worried? It looks reasonable as a position. But believe it or not, this position has a lot of poison in it, as almost any chess position does. So what happened next? What he's worried about, of course, is that there's some action along this long diagonal. So what Bent Larsen did was to play queen a8. Typical maneuver to shore up the diagonal and to put some pressure into guard his bishop. And now takes, takes, and takes. And now comes the next move, which has been on a theme that we've been talking about, on the theme of drawbacks to moves. Right? In this position, Black played bishop takes on c5. This move is virtually a blunder. It looks perfectly natural, and it's perfectly bad. It is literally, we could call this move a blunder. You might be like, a blunder? How bad can this move be? It's just so Black has no weaknesses, it looks like, in the pawn structure. It's a symmetrical pawn structure at that. What could be wrong with this move? What's wrong with the move is that the bishop that was once sitting on e7 was guarding g5. This queen, by the way, was sitting on d8, was also guarding g5, and it left to the corner. So now, black should have played pawn takes despite the slight weakness of the pawn shield, the pawn structure. Pawn takes was best. Bishop takes, which looks perfectly natural, runs into knight g5. And this move is winning. The game can be classified as over. It's over what's going to happen. Black is crushed. Now, black's pieces look when I say black's pieces look beautiful. Like, how can you call black getting crushed in a position like this? Well, the problem is this queen's going to show up on h5. And this side is going to be weak. This bishop is doing damage. So you already see the offense. There's only a king sitting over there. Everybody else is having Cheetos at their friend's house. All these guys right here, they're having Cheetos over at their friend's house. All right. Even this one is not in the act, kind of in the act, but not. They're watching the game. Okay. Meantime, knight g5 is a boss time. Here it comes. Queen here is going to be vicious. Now, the last thing you want to do is push this pawn. Let me say that again. The last thing you want to do is push that pawn. Like, the last thing. Because their weaknesses Swiss cheese. Can we talk about Swiss cheese when this knight drops back here? White is schooling black in this position. We can start with the move queen to f3. The threat is queen to f6. In addition to queen f7 check, crushing you. Like, already you feel the massive amount of pressure that is being applied to black's game. Black is in deep trouble in this position. All right. If you play f5, hoping and praying, then queen to f4, and now this queen has got ideas. Ideas here. Oh, there's a knight sack possible with a bishop idea coming in here. You never can tell. A rook might land in your face. Even if you take the file over like this, there are multiple moves here. This move is probably the best one to not bring your queen back into the act. Now your e6 pawn is hanging. Get back to business as things are dangerous here. It's extraordinary how bad this position is for black. This one with knight g5. Terrible position. So h6. Leave. All right? That's what you should do. Leave. Get to stepping. Get out my position. That's what is being said right now. Get out of my position. Well, thank you, Jay Wolf. You got your boom mug today. Beautiful, beautiful. Can we get a boom? I'm glad you got your mug. Definitely appreciate you making that purchase. Now, in this position, it is entirely possible, even though the other move is good too, it is entirely possible to hit black in the face with knight f7. Entirely possible. Because after queen to g4, again, we're doing the same thing. I just gave you a piece. Who cares? All right. What I'm trying to do is attack you until you die. And this threat is so severe. This threat is so severe. Bishop here followed by death on g6. It's so severe that it's completely worth a piece. Completely worth it. You could try to defend, for example, with bishop f8. We're playing bishop e4. We're coming to the party. You're not stopping this. You play knight here to stop this from happening. Well, oops, you just had to draw back. You uncovered an attack on your bishop on this diagonal. Give us your bishop on b7. We're going to be up a pawn. Definitely a stone cold winning position. No question about it. All right? Everything is happening. Just painful. So, Botvinnik missed. Knight takes f7. Now, Botvinnik played knight to e4. And of this game, this is a quote by Botvinnik. I want to show you. It's pretty funny, actually. He says, while Smyslov and I were in Mallorca, we judged our final results to be poor. One of us should have taken first place instead of Larsen. However, on returning to Moscow, we were surprised to find that people were satisfied with our performance. They were particularly satisfied with my game against Larsen. He actually ends up winning this game. We're not going to look at it because it's boring, the finish. He beat him in an endgame. He says, although it really was a comedy of errors, like the fact that he missed knight f7. He says, I should remark here that it was very difficult to play against Larsen at the time as he had won game after game and everybody trembled when faced with him. I don't frighten easily, but involuntarily I began to try and guess what wonderful moves he would beat me with. We're talking about Botvinnik, former world champion Mikhail Botvinnik, all right? He was still a hell of a player at the time. And he's like, I don't frighten easily, but involuntarily I began to try and guess what wonderful moves he would beat me with. He's like, no, man, this guy's playing amazing chess. I don't want to deal with him. And so when the real fight came, I didn't have enough time to work out the variations. I began to get nervous, and on 6 separate occasions, I missed a forced win. Woo! Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. That's hilarious. That's an hilarious twist to this. All right. So, in this position, somebody mentioned, what's so bad about Black's position? Why can't Black just drop the bishop back? So I saw this position in the book Blunders and Brilliancies, the book by Moss and Mo and Moss, right? That I've told you guys. No, wait, Mo and Mullen, that I told you about, and I recommend this book highly. It's one of the books that's highest on my list. If you can get it, by the way, for a good price, because right now they're selling it for millions of dollars. They should just reprint the damn thing so we can all have it. But this position is extraordinary because white to move wins, but wins with the greatest checkmate that was never played. And this is such a beautiful variation. We're going to go through it. Such a beautiful variation. But in this position, white played a logical move. I say most logical. Played a logical move, rook to d7. But in fact, white is completely winning now. The variations, you might find one move. Trust me, this took me a while because I'm always laying down. I'm never sitting up looking at puzzles. I was laying back. And if that, and if that, and if that. I'm going to show you my thought process in solving this puzzle. The book itself doesn't solve the puzzle correctly and talks about other variations that win but don't really solve the puzzle in the ideal way. So check out this analysis. And for those of you, or the person who said you only need to see 3 moves, and no can do. All right? When faced with this puzzle, and it's a 5-star puzzle in the book, I started with the most direct move, the only forcing move in the game. Somebody says there's a win, you're going to look at the most forcing move. So once you've been given that information, there's a win, it's time to look. And all you got to do is just keep looking. So here's my calculation. Knight f6 check. I'm hitting your rook. If you don't take my knight, I take your rook, you're down in exchange. The game is over. You can keep playing if you like. The game's over. I'm up in exchange for no reason. So we're not going to look at that because that just wins on the spot. Guys like Larsen would resign if they have to give this piece up. So the move is take the knight. What happens? All right, we continue with queen to g4 with check. Now you must not play bishop g7 because bishop takes on f6 and nobody's going to stop you from being mated on g7. So therefore, you must play king to h7. Why is that? If you go here, of course, you give us tempo to check you and then we wreck you. And 2 bishops doing work with the queen. Too many pieces hanging over there. All right. Hanging out, I meant, over there. So that's not a move. The only move is king to h7. All right? So far, so good. Now, what to do? Well, there's one direct forcing move in the position without any question, and it's the move bishop to e4 check. So I'm continuing the line. So I'm looking at this now as I'm calculating, right? By the way, we're only 3 moves in. So the people who said you only need 3 moves, well, maybe, but we're only 3 moves in and we're doing work. We're not even near the mate yet. This move, check. There's only one move. There's king back loses, as we've seen. So you must play f5. So now we have one pattern. This bishop along this diagonal. If we could get our queen somehow on this diagonal, it would be sweet. But at the moment, we're not there yet. But it looks like we could be there shortly. Okay? Now, in this position, I make a mistake. My mistake in my calculation causes the checkmate to happen 2 moves later than it needs to. I still find the mate, but it happens later than it needs to. So I'm going to show you what I did. What I did was I took on F5 when I was calculating. Takes and takes check. King has to go back. And now in this position, I spotted the move rook to d7. Looks reasonable. But then I noticed rook d7 doesn't work because bishop to e7 interrupts the flow of what I'm trying to do, because what I was trying to do was get my queen here with check and then mate you, except bishop to g5 comes out of nowhere and slows everything down. I can't be wasting time playing h4, trying to take here. That's going to take too much time. Knight e5 is threatened. There's too much stuff happening right now. Like that's not going to be working. So when I got to this position, as I was working this out, I said, wait a second. Maybe I can go back. The king would have to go back and now play rook to d7. The threat is just to take directly. All right? Just want to take. What's sweet about this? First I was like, well, okay, so what's happening? What's happening? What's sweet about this is the threat is to take this pawn. But remember, black has to be very careful about the queen and bishop along this diagonal. So let's go through some moves. If you play knight here, blocking the diagonal, right? Blocking the diagonal. We could maybe play bishop takes and then rook takes, but the mate is looking funny. Are we going to get in here and mate? Maybe. But the best move, and I was really happy when I found this move, the best move is boom, rook takes f7. Talk about beautiful geometrics. Rook takes on f7. The point is knight takes now runs into check. Look at those diagonal threats, diagonal power, and check. And the next move is mate, because you took away the f7 defenders with rook takes on f7. And that's it. No chance. You must go down. So now I'm wondering, well, how do you save yourself? The bishop cannot move. What if the rook moves? And this one is where the spice happens, because check is possible. King here. And now we get the move we've been waiting for. Queen here. Nasty little move. The threat is mate in 1. All right. So this line wins. I'm going to show you why. We're going to come back to a sweet little finish in a second. And in fact, we should point out, if the king goes back, no, I can finish this line. If the king goes back, I can now play rook takes rook. When queen f7 is a problem, you're going to die. If you take with the bishop, of course, it's mate in 1. But if you take with the knight, it's take check, and you have to put the bishop in the way, and it's mate. So you cannot block with the bishop, with the rook. So that means in this position here, after rook to d7, there is a monster threat. You can't block with the bishop. You can't block with the rook because of queen and queen. That means your only move, and knight e5 we've already established loses to rook f7. That means your only move is knight to e7, guarding the f5 square, unleashing the beast along this line, and getting ready to defend, you hope, right? Looks like maybe you can defend this position. That's the hope and prayer. Until, and you're ready for this, folks? So I'm still laying on the bed with the book in my hand. This was on the sofa, actually. I found the line, rook takes e7. I got my same threat. Your bishop cannot take. Your rook must take. Right? Your rook must take, by the way. So the idea is to go here or to take that. All of that's going to be nasty. If you play the move bishop to d5, then I'm going to unleash a similar mate on you anyway, with check, king here, and queen here. The threat is again mate that you cannot stop. You must move your king back and then give me the pawn with check, and then this, and then that, and then this, and then that, and you're done again. So all this you cannot do. But the question will be asked, well, what if after this boom move, you play rook takes, guarding f7. Nobody now will be able to eject the rook from the f7 pawn's defense. But we've got to calculate. Check, king here, and queen f6. Same idea. White has given away and is currently down a rook and a bishop. But it's all about that mate. About that mate. No trouble. Yeah, a lot of trouble. All right? This is mate. There's only one move, and it's king here. And this is the position I got to. And I started the chase in my head with check and check when the king was running. And then it occurred to me, a beautiful move here. And when I saw this, I was like, hell to the nah. Is this real? Is this for real? And it turns out it is very real. After all those moves, after all those sacrifices, all those forcing lines, white stops and plays g4. Just a sweet, slow, waiting move. Just shutting the cage for black. It's over now. The threat, the starting, it's like I could have given you this as a puzzle and say, what's the move? G4 is the move. White now threatens check, check, and mate. In other words, if you make some random move, check, check, the pawn now guards all the squares. You have to block with the bishop and mate. G4 threatens mate in 3, which happens to be unstoppable. Nobody can guard this square. Nobody can guard this square. And nobody can help the bishop on G7. Therefore, nothing can stop what's about to happen. If you decide to play rook E7 after G4, rook from E7 to E5, then we hit you with bishop takes. And after some defense, then check and mate. There's just, you can slow it down with rook E5, but that's it. Thank you, Bayo. All right, so G4 is the winning move. It's extraordinary. It's the final move of the combination that began all the way back here. Knight F6, you got to take or lose an exchange. Check, you got to move your king. Check, you got to push. Forcing check, you got to check. You've got to go back. Check, so you can't play bishop E7 when I play rook down. I don't want you to be able to play bishop E7 and go here. So this move, knight back because everything else fails. Rook sack. Rook must take, otherwise it's mate. Check, you got to go back. Queen, you got to go here. And G4 at the end of it with bing, 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 unstoppable. This is mate. It's just mate. It's over. All forcing. Once we got on the G takes F6 train, this is all forcing. So I go to the back of the book for the solution. And the book doesn't give my solution. Like, what? What do you mean you don't give the solution? What are you talking about? The book points out that in this position right here, it gives this far. It gives knight check and then queen check and push. In this position, the book gives the move, the absolutely spectacular move, rook to D7. Like, what? Now? Rook D7? Are you kidding me? What is this? Like, this. The point is you can't touch the queen. And it's the same threat. Look at this move, folks. Isn't this beautiful, the way the pawn is attacking this, and it doesn't matter. You just leave it alone. Whatever. We're attacking. We don't care about our bishop and queen under attack. In my head, I was cleaning this up. I had to clean this up and then find this maneuver. It's like, no, you have rook D7 right now. The word is wow. Like, that's amazing. Now though, it became clear. Remember, this is 1967. All right. So nobody's got stockfish, but they don't even find my move, even in post-analysis, which I'm waiting to see. Maybe somebody else did somewhere else. Maybe we can find that. But the move given in the book is the move knight to D8. I'm like, knight to D8. Why would you give knight to D8? The best move is knight to E7. right? Knight to d8 is an easy kill. You take, this was the point. You take, you check. I saw this variation, right? We saw this one already. But what about knight e7? Unleashing the diagonal. Like, what's the deal? Why not this line? Well, it turns out in this position, with your bishop now multiple times attacked, your queen, well, lucky for you, this pawn is pinned. You decide in this position, the best move after rook d7. Now that when I go into the back of the book and I saw rook d7, knight d8, I was like, knight d8? No, I would play knight e7. And then it dawned on me, oh-ish. My combination still works. It's only sweeter now. The move for white is boom! Rook takes e7. Like, shivers. Like, look at this position. This is insane. I mean, this is now the rook is hanging. You got the diagonal, like the queen. Like, what is going on? What a move! What a position! It's the same position, just sooner. You don't need to go through what I went through and taking and then checking and come back. You can just play this now. Rook takes is forced. This move is too strong to deal with. That's a monster move. You have to play rook takes. And now you just play the same line without needing to bring the queen back. We have my position now, except I had to bring the queen back and bring it back. And now queen f6. Threatening mate, you must go here. And now g4, and it's over, done. See ya. Wow, rook d7. Okay, I would have played bishop f5 in the game, and I'd have been like, give me the gold coins. Throw me the money. That is amazing. And somebody would have come over. Pavel Botvinnik would have been the one, because he's done it to me twice. He'd have come over and be like, Maurice, you know, your combination was beautiful, but do you know you could have gotten it with slightly less moves by playing rook d7 first? And I'd be like, you mofo. You just spoiled my combination. But rook d7 it's the same position, just 2 moves earlier, because you didn't have to go back with the queen and bring it back again with check. It's the same position. I forced it by cleaning up on bishop f5, but you didn't have to, because right here, folks, right here, just a sweet move. Remember, I took, and then brought my queen back before playing rook d7. But to find rook d7 now with knight e7, it's amazing. What that is amazing. If you want to see more of these videos, don't forget to click the subscribe button, and please follow me on twitch.tv/GMAshley.